Yeah, absolutely. I think since the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1988, 1989, and the peace dividend, where countries invested a lot less in military and could focus on trade, economic relations and building up their societies, that's over. We're not in a world of multilateral gains, whether it's through the WTO or other multilateral form. It's going to be increasingly focused, though, on deepening economic cooperation amongst trusted security partners. So you'll see a lot more cooperation between the US and the EU, Australia, Japan, Korea, and other countries, Japan, but I think China and Russia certainly are going to be on the outside of that. It does not mean, though, that there's going to be any significant decoupling in the sense that the US and China won't trade, but technology will be the pivot point. So it will be what can the US and China engage in terms of trade investment that's not sensitive, that doesn't raise national security issues, and the technology piece is where the national security issue will be sharp, and we will see a lot less of that interaction going forward.
So with the WTO meeting going on literally as we speak in Geneva, Joshua, and indeed the first time in 4 years actually, and the Director General describing the world as facing a poly crisis, so the economy, health, environment, and of course security. What do you think realistically can be achieved at this meeting, given on a number of those issues there are quite some deep divisions?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a lot of work that's been going on for these 4 years between when the trade ministers meet in Geneva to try to conclude sort of some major outcomes. Some of the things that are on the table where there is a real possibility of getting outcomes that I think could be potentially significant around fishery subsidies. There's around $20-odd billion of direct subsidies, which is leading to significant overfishing. About 30% of the world's catch is now unsustainably harvested. And there's a lot of momentum and a lot of text that's on the table here. There's some sticking issues that the US and India and China need to work through. But I think there's a real possibility of an outcome there, which would be very significant in terms of addressing that challenge. There's issues around the COVID-19 vaccine and this so-called waiver in terms of TRIPS, which is the IP issue. And that's trying to allow developing countries want to be able to produce the vaccine without worrying about having to pay licensing fees. And that's been on the table for a while. So that is something we could see progress. And there's issues around WTO governance, the so-called moratorium on e-commerce duties. So there are no taxes at the moment on flows of data and digital services between countries. And that's a moratorium that the countries and the government's been rolling over every ministerial meeting. So it's up for renewal at this ministerial meeting. Generally, this is just passed without much controversy, but countries, particularly India and South Africa, have been pushing back on that moratorium. And so there's some hard bargaining that has to go ahead to see if they make progress there as well.